Dukat. It was difficult. I made the best choice I could have made for myself at the time. That episode was, what was really thoughtful of Steve Oster, the producer, was that he asked me my very last day whether I wanted to die first or be attacked first. And unfortunately, the scene that I died in, it was Michael Dorn and Avery. So that would have been, in a way, actually spending time with them, a better scene to end with, rather than where I actually got attacked was with Mark Alimo, who I didn't know as well. So it didn't feel quite as much as a goodbye, sort of like an anticlimactic goodbye with a reoccurring character who you don't know very well, you actually never did very many scenes with. But I felt that there was no way. I thought, oh my God, I'll feel suicidal if I die and then say goodbye and it's dark out. And yeah. So we did my death scene first thing in the morning. And it was really hard because my eyes wouldn't stop tearing. It was very hard to, you know, every time Worf does that guttural scream, it was like they'd squirt right out of my eyes. I don't think on my close-up that he made the sound because of that. It was too hard. It was very difficult.
I'm asking you to join me, to fight at my side. You know what I'm doing is right, and it's what you want to do as well. I know that our past makes it difficult for you to accept me as an ally. I also know that every fiber of your being is telling you to say no, no, no. But somewhere, I know there's a yes. You need to listen to that yes.
This is when I go into my Kira mindset. I could see where she absolutely needed to get over her racism towards Cardassians and to work with Cardassians. There were scenes where she grew to love Cardassians. She formed deep friendships with them. But Gul Dukat, I couldn't find forgiveness. This was a character who was, you know, I mean, the worst people that we've had on Earth. This is who this man was.
Major, why are you so reluctant to face the obvious? We make an excellent team.
We are not a team, Dukat, and we have nothing in common. The only reason I'm helping you is because those Klingons killed 15 Bajoran diplomats.
There were Cardassians at that outpost, too.
Maybe. But all you care about is redeeming yourself in the eyes of the Cardassian government. You have seen an opportunity for advancement, and you are grabbing it. I couldn't find it in Kira or myself to forgive him, to form a romantic relationship or any of the other things that were hinted at the time. And this was where I just dug my heels in and said no. Mark Alimo, who played Gul Dukat, would do this dance of wanting it to be romantic. This woman could not forgive what he had done. And as a matter of fact, they wanted me to have had an affair with him. And Ira and I were opposite that ops table, yelling at each other. And he heard me. He heard what my arguments were. But what happened is a week later, he said, well, so we got that script in. And no, you're not having an affair, but your mother did. So it's like...
Your mother and I were lovers, almost from the moment we met. And we remained lovers until the day she died.
I've had enough of this.
So my mother was like his Bajoran mistress, and which was very interesting and put me even in a worse position to deal with this man. I did some checking. She died in a Cardassian hospital 7 years after she met Dukat. 7 years. Do you know how many Bajorans died in the labor camps during that time? Died while my mother sat sipping Kanar with Dukat. Day-to-day life, I loved working with Mark. Talk about an actor who can hit. He could hit. And I had a great time in those terms. He always came with all this stuff.
I told you the truth was liberating, Major. Now, don't you feel better? I do.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special surprise for you tonight. If this babe doesn't raise your temperature, you better check the obituary column because chances are you're in it, Pally. Let's have a nice warm round of applause for Miss Lola Cristal.
I sang Fever. I'd always had a thing for Peggy Lee's Fever. And I said, how about this? And they said, we'll check into it. And they got it passed. And that was fun. That was so much fun. I mean, talk about Star Trek letting you, examine all these things that you can do. And it actually was the first time I thought, hey, maybe I'll go back to these musical comedy roots of mine. It kind of laid that seed in everyone's head that, oh yeah, you can do that stuff too. Although I always teased Ira Stephen Bear that, I wanted a Kira dream ballet. It wasn't singing I wanted to do. I wanted to do some hideous kind of dream ballet at some point.
We need a victory, a big victory, and we need it soon.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Then do something about it.
I already have. In fact, I'm presenting a plan to Starfleet Command at 0800 tomorrow.
What plan?
We're going to retake Deep Space Nine.
Season 6 was when we decided to push that perennial envelope even further and basically have, a story arc that would carry over for a number of episodes at the beginning of the season about the Dominion Wars. And it became an issue of how many shows there would be. Would there be 3? Would there be 4? Would there be 5? Would there be 6?
Hold on.
And it became, how far could we push it before they just started to say, enough, stop. Little did they know that we would end season 7 with like a 10-episode arc. You give an inch, we'll take everything we can get. So that was very exciting. Again, the writers were very jazzed. Everyone wanted a crack at the show. It was difficult, I have to say.
They're a good crew. The best.
But it was fun. Everyone was up for it, and we did it at the beginning of the season, which was a really smart thing to do because everyone was awake and not tired and focused.
I look forward to it.
We were able to do it, and we were able, again, we wanted, even within this small arc, to do a lot of different types of shows. The battle shows, the intimate station shows. We wanted to be able to cover the waterfront.
I'm glad you can still smile.
Only when I'm with you.
That's kind of you to say.
No, it's true. When I talk to you, things don't seem as bad.
And then we also were afraid that we were going to blow the perennial wad, and the rest of the season was going to seem like an afterthought, because anything else after that was going to seem smaller. We had to watch out for that. And I believe after the arc, we did the wedding.
Or
Jetsia.
I guess the wedding's still on.
That was important because we needed to say, hey, keep tuning in. It's not over.
There's an old saying, fortune favors the bold. Well, I guess we're about to find out.
Now bring out Kevin, and we can conclude our business.
Kevin, right, absolutely.
I'm waiting.
I will in a few minutes.
No, not in a few minutes, now! Or maybe you've changed your mind and you don't want your mother back. Kill her.
No! Give them what they want, Quark. I intend to. As soon as my brother completes his sensor scans.
thought the Breen were annoying.
There's a half a dozen people, even less than that, in my pantheon of people in music, and Iggy is right there at the very top. I mean, I've been to more Iggy Pop concerts than I care to remember, and I just, to me, he is the heart and soul of rock and roll.
Excellent.
He was going to play an alien, and I was going to have lunch with Iggy Pop, which I did. It was great. It was really, you know, he had just had a serious accident. He had leaped off the stage, as he is prone to do, and the people in the mosh pit all parted like the Red Sea, and he landed on his shoulder and was in really bad pain. He was in bad pain during a lot of the filming of the episode, but was a total pro. I mean, he was totally into it.
You ready?
I've been ready for hours.
It was the toughest show for me not to spend all my time on the stage. You know, I usually I get to spend very little time on the stage because you're busy writing and doing whatever you have to do to get a show made. The urge was to always be down there, you know, and just to see him with all those people in their Ferengi heads. My wife came down to meet him. She was down on the set and she was talking to Armin and to Max, to Jeff Combs, and then she went over to introduce herself to Iggy, and she says, "I'm Ira's wife." I said, yeah. I figured you had a lot of juice because you were in good with all the big heads, you know? So it was just a cool thing, you know?
What a touching and heartfelt reunion. I'm glad I was here to witness it. Now, where's Kevon? I wish to conclude this transaction.
Over a 7-year period, it would be disingenuous of me to pretend that you didn't butt heads. But when you begin, you know, you're just an instrument, and the words are there on the page, and you play the music. But then what happens over time is that the composers start to write the music for the instrument. In one early episode, I went, Harrumph. And they started to write Harrumph on every other line because they loved that. And I remember turning to Ira one day and I said, if I see Harrumph written one more, I'll know when to do it. Don't write it there. And so, you know, Ira was fabulous about that.
Are we gonna have dinner together or not?
And if we do, then what?
I don't know, maybe we could go dancing?
And after that, I suppose you'll expect me to kiss you.
Well, it's possible.
But then who needs dinner? Why don't I just get it over with and kiss you right now?
Well, why don't you?
The big kiss, yeah. It's funny, you know, you work with someone like Nana and you become great friends, and then after years of working together, you're required to do a love scene, you know, a kiss. And I remember we were getting ready to do it, and we were both so nervous about it. The truth is, it's easier to do a lovemaking scene with a perfect stranger or with an actor who comes in and, you know, you shake hands and you say, and you start doing the thing. And because there's nothing to it because there's so many lights and crew people standing around while you're doing it, and you're getting your elbow in that position and your head in that position. Is certainly not sensual. But Nana and I was sort of like, it almost felt incestuous because we were dear, dear friends, but we were not in any way romantically involved with each other. And so it sort of felt weird. And I remember we were getting ready to do it, you know, and because we rehearsed it, but it was always sort of like, oh, and then we'll kiss. And I said, okay, we're pros, we can handle this, you know, and we went and we did it, and we did the first take of it, and we boom, kissed each other. And I sort of pulled back, and they called cut, and I looked at Nana, and she had sort of this big orange smudge on her face, which I realized was part of Odo's face, and my nose was all squished away. We had sort of hit the mark in our attempt to make it work.
You're right. Who needs dinner?
Jadzia.
It was a really, really hard show. It was just the two of them in a jungle where Dax is potentially going to die. and what does Worf do, and how does Worf overcome his sort of Klingon ethics and learning to deal with his wife's impending death.
Worf, you have to go on without me. And I know that. I understand.
My duty requires that I complete the mission regardless of my personal feelings.
Absolutely. You're a Starfleet officer. So am I. I understand.
The information Luzarn has could be potentially invaluable to the war effort.
You don't have to explain to me. I'm hurt. You're not. And there's a job to be done.
I will be back tomorrow night.
Don't worry, I'm not going anywhere.
I was very proud of both of them. I thought they both gave extraordinary performances. Terry was, I thought, incredible in the episode and very moving. And again, it's about a husband and wife, two lovers who are in a life and death situation with added conflicts of Worf being a Klingon. How can you ask for more in a dramatic situation?
It's been a great 2 months, hasn't it?
Yes. Jitsia, I just want to tell you how...
Just kiss me and go.
Randy McIlvaine, who was the production designer, built me this wonderful jungle. So you really had a sense of this place that they were really trapped out in the middle of nowhere with no 24th century resources to help save her life, so that Worf had to draw upon all of his quote-unquote humanity to deal with the situation. That's, again, one of my favorite episodes because of the emotional basis for it.
I see. It's a sensitive topic. I wonder what Captain Sisko would think if he'd seen you curled up in a ball, crying yourself to sleep every night.
Stop it!
I doubt he'd still have the same respect for you if he'd heard you screaming and screaming and screaming like a madman till the nurses came and the doctors had to sedate you.
No!
Oh, man, I couldn't believe what the character was supposed to be going through. You know, justifying all of his own actions for his whole life and everything.
Any other survivors?
I saw a few escape pods leaving the ship just before it exploded. But I had my hands full just trying to keep us in one piece. The engines were damaged from the shock waves. And I set us down here. Wherever here is.
Waltz, it was me and Avery, right. Oh, that was such a great story. That was a great story. Being, you know, abandoned on this little rock somewhere. It was just me and him, and I had the upper hand, and it was great. That's one of my favorite shows, Waltz.
Dukat! Dukat! I thought you wanted to talk to me.
Yes! But Norris won't leave well enough alone. She's always interfering, always trying to upset me.
Maybe we should just ignore her. Let's pretend that the Major's not even here.
It means a great deal to me to see so many people cared about Morn as much as I did. I'll never forget the first time he walked in here and sat down on that very stool. It must have been almost 10 years ago. He still had his hair then. I thought he was just another customer passing through. Little did I know he'd become such an important figure in my life.
It wasn't until the episode Who Mourns for Morn that we find out a backstory on Morn. Up to this point, we think, okay, it's this guy that we see in the bar all the time. From what I've heard from people that I've seen at conventions, people always say, "We love your character." We don't know why we love him. We only know that whenever we see him, we all yell out his name. There's Morn! That's always been a thrill for me to meet people that really appreciate the character. I don't know if it's me, I don't know if it's just the makeup, or it's a combination of those things, or maybe it's the context that it's on Star Trek. I just went to a convention this last weekend, and a big thrill was a fan that came all the way from Japan and says, "I traveled all this way from Japan just to see you." That just blew me away.
Morn, alive and well. Apparently, he faked his own death, but I'll let him tell you all about it.
Well? No, I don't want to hear it. Not one word. You set me up. This whole thing was a scam. To get them off your back, wasn't it? And I thought we were friends.